Welcome back, guys. In this video, we are going to see how to handle frames and iFrames using WebdriverIO. So for this tutorial purpose, I will be using one test web page, which is at chercher.tech/practice/frames. Okay, so now we have this web page and we have a topic and different fields. I want to enter some value into this text bar. Let me try to enter a value, or let me try to inspect this particular text bar. So here we have a text bar and we can find this text bar using like the tag name and then the type, because we will be using CSS selector. So the selector will be like input and the type as, because if we use input, we have two fields, the checkbox and the text bar. So for that purpose, I'll be using type to filter out. Okay, now we have only one value or one match, so we can use this particular element to perform our actions. So I want to send or set some value into that particular text bar, something like this one. Okay, so first we have to find the element. Let's use the dollar, and now we have to set the value. So here I'm going to set like chercher tech. Okay, so for showcasing purpose, I wanted to add little sleep here, because it is not called a sleep but a pause. That's 5 seconds. I want to add this 5 seconds of sleep so that you can see that the WebdriverIO IO is entering some value into the text bar. Okay, otherwise it will be too fast that even we can't see it. Okay, let me run it. Let me clear the screen, and we can run the thing. We can run our WebdriverIO using WDIO file from the bin folder present in node modules using conf file. Okay, it could be like a wdio.conf file, or you can use like conf.js itself. It will be like a different names, okay, based on your project. So let me enter. So the browser is starting here. So it's opened. Now it should enter the value. It didn't enter any value and the test is failed. Okay, if we see reason why it is failed, let's scroll a little up. Okay, here we can see the error. It says that, here you can see the error, right? It says that no such element error, but the message is unable to locate the element using the method as a CS selector, and the selector value is input and the type is text. But same thing what we have applied here, but it was able to find the element, right? See, but why the program is not able to find it? Why WebdriverIO is not able to find it? Okay, so for that matter, there is no issues with WebdriverIO. Okay, so the only issue is the element whichever is present here. Okay, this text bar which is not present in the page. Okay, let me inspect and showcase it to you. Okay, so this is the particular element we are targeting for. Okay, but where this element is present, okay, let me scroll up a little. Okay, so this is the one. So it has head HTML. If you see this one, it has its own HTML page itself, which means that it exists as a separate document object model, or also called as DOM. Okay, so we can incorporate a different DOM using iFrames and frames. Okay, if you see here, there's a tag called iFrame. Okay, which means that we are going to showcase some web page which is frames1.html into this current web page here in this web page. Okay, so that we can edit anything in the frame 1 and it will reflect here without changing anything. Okay, so this is the main purpose why people use iframes. Okay, so as of now you might be understanding like iframes. Okay, but there is another category called frames. Okay, so let's see what is iframes and frames. So iframe is nothing but a tag, a HTML tag which is used to showcase some other web page into our current web page. Similarly, the frame is used to showcase our own web pages, basically a different web page in our domain, to showcase in our domain in different page. For example, if I want to use iframe, okay, so I can use the iframe in a way that if I want to showcase any other web page from the different domain. For example, if I want to showcase a page from a Google into my website, then I'll be using iframe. Okay, the frame will be used when we want to showcase one of the page from our domain. Like here, consider like this is the one page, and if I want to showcase any other page from same this chercher.tech, then I can use frames. Okay, frames are mostly used to divide the web page. Okay, and also the main reason why people use iframes, okay, is if they want to showcase some page here to the user, but which is not actually present in the current page, and if somebody makes changes to this particular document, it will be reflecting in my web page. Okay, without my knowledge, they can edit and they can keep it and they can update it. Okay, so for this purpose people use iframes. And frames, as I said, if you want to showcase our own pages, then we can use frames. And normally nowadays no one uses frames because they can achieve the same thing using css selectors, sorry, not css selectors, cascading tile sheets and javascript. So because of which people started avoiding frames. And when it comes to the iframes, still iframes are in use, but it's to the least, because it is always suggested to avoid iframes, because it is a old design and it is not much supported with modern browsers. Okay, so nowadays also people use frames, but to the minimal levels. Okay, per page there could be like 2 or 3 frames, 3 iframes, which is acceptable, but more than that is not acceptable and not a good design. Okay, so now let's solve this problem and we'll see how to do it. Okay, so now I want to set the value here. Okay, so which means that we want to handle some page which is not present in our web page. Okay, let me see the source code of this particular web page. If you see here, it says like frame 1 and frame 2, which is like frames 1. This is the source code of frame 1, which is nothing but this topic and inner frame checkbox. So can you see the same thing here? Because here we are reflecting it here. Okay, now for the drop down frame, let's see animals and cat. Here you can see it, right? Similar way, one frame can have another frame inside. Okay, for example, here we have inner frame, right? So this is also not present in this topic frame because it is also present in a different frame itself. Okay, so here we have our checkbox frame. Let me inspect the source code of it. See, you guys can see that we have only the topic and the text bar, but the remaining one, here you can see this particular inner frame checkbox is not present. Okay, but it is present in another web page called checkbox.html. Here you can see it, right? So this is how we can nest multiple frames into a one particular web page or one particular frame. Okay, but how will you identify whether it's a frame or not? So it is very simple. Okay, right click on any place, you will see this view page source and view frame source. Okay, so if you get view frame source or reload frame here, then that means you are clicking inside a frame. Okay, if I click in the page level, you will not get those two options, but if you click inside the frame, you will receive those two options, view frame and reload frame. Okay, it is also applicable for Firefox. You don't need any special things for doing it. Okay, so here it looks a bit different, but it's okay. Okay, see, when you right click, you will see like this frame and frame related options. Okay, so based on this itself, you can judge that yes, it is a frame. Okay, now, so I hope you guys understood like what is frame and what is iframe. Okay, so recently I have interchanged between frames and iframes, but most of the time whenever I say frame or iframe, it always points to iframe only, because frames are out of fashion and no one uses it anymore. Okay, now let me close these things and let me inspect this particular text bar. The Chrome will be able to analyze like wherever it is present. We can find it whether it's present inside a frame or outside the frame. Irrespective of it, we will be able to find it. Okay, now we have it. So how do we handle this particular frames in WebdriverIO? Okay, so for this purpose, we have to switch into that particular document, because currently whenever you search for a particular document using $sign, it always searches in your page, which is this one. Okay, not in here. So to see it here, okay, to see it inside this frame, we have to switch into the frame. So we can switch using couple of methods. Okay, switch to frame. So the first method is using index. Okay, using index is nothing but every frame in a web page, okay, will be given a index number. Okay, for example, here we have two frames and these two frames will be given an index. This first frame as a 0 and the second frame as 1, and so on it goes. Like the index starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. Okay, it will not be depending on any of the attributes, but it will be depending on that what level that particular iframe tag is present. So it is present at first, so the index is 0, and it is present at second place, so index is 1. Okay, so we can use a method called browser dot switch to frame. Okay, switch to frame, and we can provide the index. So we want to switch into 0th frame, because in 0 only we have this particular text bar. Okay, so here only we want to enter the value. So now let me run it. So I'm using the same conf file. I have not modified anything in the conf file. Okay, and I'm adding the sleep just to showcasing purpose, and don't add it in your code. Okay, so see, now you guys can see chercher tech is entered into the text bar, right? So the test is also passed. Okay, if I want to perform anything on this particular drop down, then I have to switch into frame here into the 1. Okay, switch to frame 1 I have to provide. Okay, so this is how it works. Now, so if you will get a doubt like, what if somebody introduces one more frame in between? Like for example, now it has given like 0, 1. Okay, what if one more guy inserts one more frame in this level, so which becomes like 0, and this becomes as a 1, and this becomes as a 2? The test will fail now, because the index has changed. So for that purpose, we have few more methods or few more ways to handle it. So we can switch using id. Okay, so for example, it is not mandatory to all the frames to have IDs, but it's optional. But most of the time, developers will provide ID. If they are not providing, as a tester, you should ask for the ID. Okay, but it is not a mandatory. Okay, now we have ID as a frame 1. So we can use this particular ID to switch into this frame 1. Okay, now the same method can accept different values like integer, string, object. Okay, because it is, they have provided the or parameter for the type. Now here I'm going with frame1, okay, which is the ID. Okay, so WebdriverIO has the intelligence to differentiate between index and ID. Okay, let me rerun it. Now also we should see the same result as the previous one. It should enter the text inside that particular text bar. Okay, the page is opening. See, now again we have received the same text, okay, into the text bar, but we have used the ID instead of index, because index is not reliable and you should consider the index way as the least priority way. Okay, if nothing works, then only you should go for index, otherwise don't go. Okay, so you might have doubt like, okay buddy, I don't have an ID, how do I handle it now? Okay, it's not all the developers will provide an ID, right? So at that time you can use another attribute called name. Okay, so you can use the name text as well to switch into a frame. For example, here I'm going to change the switch to frame into the name text, okay, name value. So the same method will be used again, but with a different value. Okay, here it is a name value. So instead of this one, I'll try like cherchertech.com. Okay, so I'm going to rerun it, and now it should enter cherchertech.com into the text bar. I have changed it because you might think like I'm just executing the old one. Okay, so to avoid that thinking, I'm just changing the text. Okay, now you guys can see like it has entered cherchertech.com. Okay, and the test is passed after 5 seconds of sleep. Anyways, so we are able to set the value, but we have tried with name, but people will say like, what if there is one more frame with the same name? Okay, anyway, in this case we do not have the same name, but what if we have, then how do we do it? Okay, so this is the normal doubt everyone gets. So the fourth way would be using element. Okay, I hope you guys know how to find an element. It is like dollar and then use the css value or XPath. Okay, for example, now I'll consider this as one particular element. So how I'll write dollar and then I'll provide css path or XPath or ID or something. In a similar way, every iframe is considered as an element. Okay, so we can find this element using these attributes. For example, if I want to find this one, I can use like frame, or you can say like iframe. Okay, I'm able to find multiple things, and now I want to use the ID from it. It is frame 1. Okay, you guys can see it, right? So this is one of the way. So I'm writing the css selector. So now I have to use dollar and then the css selector. Okay, now we are passing it as a element, right? Now it will switch. Okay, let me run it again and it should change the value, but for this moment's sake I'll change the value again so that you guys will think like, yeah, it is working. Otherwise you will think like the other is tricking us. Okay, so for that purpose I'll say like other is tricking us. It's funny, but yeah, I used to think that way. So okay, now test has started running. The page is open, so we can see the same text whatever I have given here. The author is tricking us. Okay, and the test is passed. So this is one of the way. Okay, so these are the one of the way, in the sense like this is one of the thing we can do it with frames. Okay, using these 4 methods we can switch into the frame. At the same time, Okay, we can have multiple frames. For example, in this one itself, you can see this, the topic. Okay, it is present in frame 1, but this inner frame is present in frame 3. Okay, if I inspect it, you guys will be get to know it. Okay, so I'm inspecting this one. See if you guys can see it here. It is says like ID as frame 3. Okay, now you might think like I can switch into a frame 3 and then check the checkbox. The checkbox is simple. We have like only input and the type as checkbox, right? Yeah. Now you might think like let's switch into this one iframe, but the type as what is called as what is it? Checkbox. Checkbox. Not box, but box. Okay, this is how the thing will be enabled. Okay, let me inspect it in the web page. Okay, iframe type as checkbox is not there, but still let's try to inspect this checkbox and now try. Okay, so here we have iframe. I have given iframe as the type, right? So this is for the first one. So here we should have given like id as frame 3, right? So let me change it. So switch to back to a frame called frame 3. I was just mixing it. I'm sorry for that. So and the element we have is input. The type is checkbox. Okay, now this particular thing will work. Okay, the element we are targeting for checkbox. Okay, it is matching, and frame 3 is also matching. The ID is frame 3. Okay, if you want, I can copy the same thing here. Okay, now we cannot set the value to the checkbox, but we can click it. Okay, let me clear the screen and run the code. Okay, the browser is opened and it should tick the checkbox. It says like it is failed, but why? Okay, let's see why. It says like request failed due to no such frame is present. Why? Let's analyze again and we'll get to know it why. Okay, so this is the frame 1. So if I search for frame 3, it is present here, but just you need to remember that this frame is present inside the frame 1, not in the page level. Okay, so this is the frame 1. Inside this frame 1, the frame 3 is present, which means that this frame 3 is not present at page level. And as I earlier said, WebdriverIO works in the page level unless we switch into a particular frame. Okay, so this frame 3 is not available on frame 1. So, and then where it is present? It is present at frame 1. So first we have to switch into this particular frame. Okay, this topic frame, and then we have to switch into the inner frame checkbox frame. Okay, so this is a different frame and this is a different frame. So first we have to switch to frame 1 and then only we can go for frame 3. Okay, now I'm switching into frame 1 and then I'm switching into frame 3. Now I want to click this particular checkbox. Let me rerun the code. Okay, it's opening the browser. See, now you guys can see like the checkbox is checked, right? And the test is passed anyways. So this is how we can handle a nested frames. So whenever you have a nested frames, you have to switch one by one only. Okay, so you cannot skip any frames. It is not like a relative expert. You can skip to the exact element. So that doesn't work with frames. Okay, so you have to switch one by one. Now we have switched into frames. Now we have switched into something. Now how I want to come back out of it. Okay, normally we will think, right? So we can use a method called parent frame. Switch to parent frame. Switch to parent frame is nothing but it will exit the current frame. Now consider like in this one, we are in the checkbox level, which means that we are in the nested inner frame. Now if I want to go to the upper frame, we can use a parent frame, which means that we are going to exit this particular frame. Okay, which means that we'll exit this one, but we'll be going into this topic frame. Okay, that is called parent frame for this small frame. Okay, so exiting a frame, we can use a parent method. So now consider like we have in a frame 1 and then frame 2, and then we are clicking the checkbox. Now again I have to switch back to the parent frame. Parent frame will not accept any parameter because it just exits the current frame. Okay, for that we can use browser dot switch to parent frame. Okay, so from the checkbox level it will come out. Now I want to have a text there. For example, once I exit this checkbox, I want to enter some value here. Okay, again whatever we have did previously. So it is dollar. Now I can directly use input. Any guess why I'm not using the type equal to text or something? Okay, I'll explain. Just for a moment's sake, you guys think. Moment sake. Okay, I'm going to run it again. Now what it should do is it should check the checkbox and then it should exit and it should set the value into the text bar. It has opened the web page now. Yeah, you guys can see both the things got done, right? Which means that our test has passed. If you have not seen, you can see it here. Okay, it is working fine. Why I have used input is because even though there are two inputs in this page, when I put input here, we have two matches. But if you remember that the WebdriverIO works in one level only. If it is in a page level, it is in a page level. If it is in a frame level, it is it is going to be inside the frame only, not inside any other frame, not inside the page level. Okay, which means that when I am in the topic frame, if I see is there any other input, okay, so this is the basic thing. Okay, so inside this one I was talking. So inside this one, if I see the source code, let's see how many inputs are present. If you see it here, you have only one input. Okay, the checkbox here present as a frame. Okay, which means that the DOM is not present here. Okay, it is present somewhere else, which means that only one input is present inside this frame. Okay, inside this frame also only one input is present. Okay, because of that reason I was able to do it. Okay, anyway, WebdriverIO will perform on the first occurrence, but here we have only one occurrence, so no issues. Now if I want to exit out of this particular topic, okay, for example, if I want to get this topic thing, the header, like topic not a friendly topic, then let me inspect it and we can use the get text method on this one. Okay, so it is like a label. Inside the label there is a span. Okay, I'm going to output it here, console.log. We have a label. Inside label I have span. So this is how we can form the CSS, and then get text. Right, now let me run it. So just for a moment sake, for easy finding, I'm going to add a couple of stars here. So what we are trying to do is we are performing the same thing. Check the checkbox and enter the value and get the title or the header, basically header. Okay, this topic not a friendly topic, so it's going to print not a friendly topic because we are going to focus on span. Okay, 5 seconds of sleep is going to be over, and see the output. It says like one failed and there is no element as that one. no element as this particular span, because it is present in the page level, but still we are in the first frame level, so we have to exit the first frame as well, right? Now let me rerun it. Because as I was explaining this, the topic is present in a page level, not in a frame levels. So okay, now checked, and it should print this value, not a friendly topic. Let's see whether it's printing or not. See here, you guys can see that stars and not a friendly topic got printed, right? I hope you guys are able to see this one. It's a magic. You guys can see it. Yay. Okay. You might think like the why this topic is not present, because it is present in a different label. Okay. So we were trying to focus this one only. So the not a friendly topic got printed. Okay. So now one of you guys might think like, okay, this and all okay, but my purpose is like click the checkbox and get the value. I don't want to perform anything. So still do I need to perform like switch frame twice? Okay, you might have this doubt, right? So yes, we can switch twice or we can switch once. Okay, I'll teach that technique as well. Because when you have like two switch back to frames, like switch to parent frame, it is easy. But when you have like multiple, then it becomes very difficult to write that kind of things or that many things. So for that purpose, WebdriverIO provides one more method, not one more method, the same method that whatever we have used it here, switch to frame. Okay, but only thing is like you have to pass null. Okay, when you provide null, switch to frame to null, which means that it will bring the control out of all the frames and it goes to the page level. For example, if I am in this checkbox level, which is 2 levels down the page level, and if I use that switch to null, it becomes, no, it exits all the frames, this frame and this frame, and if there is a multiple frames also, it will exit and it will come to this level, this page level. Okay, now let's run it and see. Okay, the page is opened. Ticked. Okay, now it should have printed the value. See, you guys can see the not a friendly topic is printed again, but we have not used to switch to parent frames, right? Previously we were using it, but now we have not, but still it was working. Okay, so that's all with frames. Let me reiterate all the things whatever we have gone through. So last one is to default content. Okay, why I am writing default content is normally whenever you use Selenium, there is a method called switch to default content, which performs the same thing whatever we have done using switch to null. Okay, so also you can select switch to frame level. Okay, that is also fine. So we have 3 different methods. One is switch to frame, which means that we are going to switch into a frame. Okay, so we can do it in 4 ways. One, using index, as every iframe in the web page will receive a particular index starting with 0 and then 1 2 3 4. And using an id is an attribute which is the optional, developers can give, or it's up to their wish like whether to give or not. Okay, so we can use id, or we can use the name, another attribute, or we can use the element when id and name are duplicates. Okay, so these 4 ways will be used to switch into an frame. Okay, here frame means literally iframe or frame. Okay, both will work in the same way only. There will be no difference. There is no difference. Okay, the second one is switch to parent frame. Like we are doing something inside the frame, but now we are done with that work. Now we want to go back into a upper level. Then we will be using switch to parent frame. Okay, at the same time, we can use multiple parent frames and then we reach the top level. I mean like page level. So to reach page level, we have to use multiple parent to frames when we are having a nested frames. So to avoid that particular situation, we will be using switch to default content. But this is not a method, but it is basically using a switch to frame but providing null value. Okay, when you are using a WebDriver, you may see like only index, name, and one more thing called object, okay, in official documents, which means element only. Okay, but there is one more thing like name. Okay, sorry, you can see like index, id, element, but not name. Okay, but as I was having experience with the Selenium and Protractor, so I was able to try with using name and it works fine. Okay, no issues. Okay, so that's all with frames and iframes with WebdriverIO. We can end this session now. Thank you guys.